So after music and advertising and the sound and the noise, let's talk about maybe the oldest influencer there is in the world. Television, in a kind of way. It feels really old, a medium that changed a lot in the last years, and around it, a whole new media and marketing landscape evolved. So the question is TV still a relevant player, and why and how? And the lady next on stage is going to tell you that, first of all, yes, it's still a relevant player, and even more that TV is still the most effective platform of all. So please welcome Tess O Brien, Director of Product Marketing at Freewill. Tess.
Thank you.
This is your clicker.
Thank you
so much.
This is your stage. Have fun. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so incredibly excited to be here. This is my first time in Hamburg, but more importantly, it's my first time here at OMR. And I'm talking about something that I'm truly, truly passionate about, so that's always good. Anyone that knows me well knows that I absolutely love TV. I take my viewing so seriously, which is a big part of the reason why I work for Freewill and we're powering the TV ecosystem. I'm just wondering, I'm sure that people in the audience have been in a situation where you've committed to a loved one or your partner to watch a TV show together, and then maybe one person skips ahead. It's super annoying, right? See, the problem is that I'm that person. Sometimes I just get so engaged that I kind of have to continue and push through. But social media is also a really big part of my life. I'm an Australian living in New York, and so it's how I stay connected to my friends and my family. But what I'd like us to consider today is actually what it means to be an influencer. As I was preparing for this event and going through the different presenters and the content, I felt that this was a good question for us to kind of answer. So I think this really starts with the concept of influence itself and what that actually means. The power to affect, control, and manipulate someone or something. For a marketer, this really just means convincing someone to buy your product or your service. And this can happen in a couple of different ways. It could come from aligning your brand to great content. It could come from incredibly powerful advertising creative, or it could come from technology that's actually making a decision to deliver an ad to the right person at the right time. But what's important for us to consider is what this actually means for us as marketers. And it's not really a new concept. Celebrity endorsements have been a big part of marketing for many years. But the other influences in our lives are also those in our inner circle, our friends and our family who we love and trust. We care about their opinions. But what happened with social media is that world got big very quickly. And suddenly we were starting to follow people who we didn't know, yet whose opinions we really started to care about. Advertising used to also be a lot more overt, but we're starting to see brands really capitalize on this age of the influencer and partner with influencers to market their brands to their followers. And this type of marketing really concentrates on the bottom part of the funnel here, the intent to purchase. And I'm really an example of this working. The dress I'm wearing today, yes, I did think it was going to be warmer than it is, was something that one of my favorite Instagram influencers posted, and I purchased it. So it's no surprise that this industry is worth about $1 billion already today. Now, German marketers have also started to identify the criteria that they use when developing these business partnerships. And they identified engagement, highly engaged audiences, targeted audiences, as well as reach. But what does it actually mean to create a sphere of influence? In my opinion, it really takes three things. The ability to create a contextual environment so that you can establish an emotional connection with the audience. The ability to actually reach high-quality audiences. And then finally, the ability to tell a story and bring the audience on a journey. And the stronger these three factors, the more powerful a sphere of influence can be. But when you say that out loud, I just wonder, isn't TV pretty good at all of those things? So let's go through reach. Check. TV has an unquestioned ability to reach mass audiences. Context, the ability to create contextual environments. Check. And the ability to tell a story. There's no other medium that does that better than television. And so, what I'd like us to consider is, what if the most effective influencer of all is actually the screen that we gather around with our families every night? So let's start with reach. Do we all know this woman? This is Chiara Ferragani of the Blonde Salad. She's often called out as one of the most powerful influencers in the world, and she's someone that I personally have followed for many years. I've seen her have a baby, get married, partner with various different brands, and also launch her own brand herself. And she has an incredibly devoted following of over 16 million people, which is insane. But what I'd like us to consider is reach and how this might compare to a primetime show, maybe one here in Germany. I know that we had one of the former contestants of Germany's Next Top Model here today. It's a format that I personally love myself. The ad exposure of Germany's Next Top Model, a primetime spot, is actually equal to about 20 of Chiara's posts. So I think that we really need to give it up for Heidi Klum, first of all. She's amazing, but I think this also forces us to question, what is the role of TV in this complex influencer economy? And in our search for attention, speed has also become incredibly important. Our brains actually process images 60 times faster than words, which is incredible. But when it comes to stories, this is also really, really important, because we as human beings search for stories as a way to understand ourselves and also our surroundings. So being able to engage in a story and actually place ourselves in that situation can create a visceral reaction. All good things if you're a marketer. But you can't tell a story without the right context. That environment is critical. So let's take this first example here. I know that Germans also love football, and Domino's Pizza is one of the biggest quick-serve restaurants in the world. And recently they found, through some research with a company called TV Vision, that the advertisements they placed in live sporting events ended up having a 49% higher attention index than any other programming, which is staggering. The true measure of an influencer, though, is actually the ability to affect change in people's actions. And despite all of the talk that TV is dead, it's actually just the opposite. This shows that adding TV to a campaign led to an increase of 40% in business impacts. Direct-to-consumer brands are also now flocking to TV as well. This one stood out to me. I'm very familiar with Booking.com, and I'm sure a lot of people here are as well. It was founded here in Europe, but a couple of years ago, when they were starting to expand into other markets and develop their footprint in the US, they faced a lot of competition from some incumbents, and they actually turned to television. And they found that there was a direct correlation in their increase in TV spend to their search queries, and in turn, revenue. This could also actually have a lot to do with simultaneous device usage. We now know that 87% of people actually watch TV with a second screen in hand. So that means that they can immediately react to a TV ad. And this shows that TV and paid search were actually delivered the most powerful return on investment for marketers. But more importantly, the thing that I find truly interesting about this is that 27% of the paid search was actually driven by TV. Now, a lot of industries have gone through an amazing amount of technology transformation, and none more so than television. There are so many different ways that we can view now, and this is creating a huge demand for content as well. Last year, there were 500 scripted TV shows produced. It's a 50% increase on 2010, which is incredible. And we as consumers tend to kind of interact with some of these inner rings. But what I'd like us to consider is actually the really complex technology ecosystem that sits behind this and supports it. Because with all of this technology, we are now getting access to more data. And primarily, this data is being used to improve the viewing experiences. But what we're also starting to do is actually improve advertising experiences as well. One of the first ways that we're doing this is through addressable advertising. And as an industry, we've been talking about the power of addressability for many, many years. And the reality is that it's here today. This means being able to target down to the household to make traditional TV advertising truly personal. because what's more personal than the TV screen in your living room? There are broadly two different types of addressability. There's the ability to deliver different creatives to different demographics, but then there's also the ability to actually deliver entirely different advertisers to different demographics. So in this second scenario here, it's unlikely I'd see the BMW ad. I live in Manhattan, and my days of owning a car are long gone, but I would probably see the Target ad. We're also starting to use this data to measure the effectiveness and also the attribution of TV. And this is an incredibly monumental step for television. And we know that TV isn't viewed in a vacuum, and so what this partner case study shows is TV's contribution to a multi-touch campaign, and it's significant. Long term, we also know that the worlds of TV and digital are going to merge, and that TV will be truly digitized. But we're still a long way off this actually happening. And so we've actually started to apply the principles of digital to TV. And through this convergence, TV is now actually able to influence the entire purchase funnel. Obviously, it will continue to drive upper funnel brand awareness through its ability to reach mass audiences. But through the data that we were talking about, we're now able to more granularly target those audiences. And then finally, through research, we're understanding how TV is actually contributing to those lower funnel tactics too. So in all, TV is now able to purchase the entire funnel and is probably one of the only mediums that can do so. Still not quite convinced? I think that this says it best. Some of the technology giants, the home of the influencers as well, collectively spend about $1.5 billion on TV in the US alone every year. And they're actually driving a lot of the areas of growth that we're seeing too. So they recognize the power of TV for their own brands. But today, I think that we've learnt an enormous amount from how social media and the influence that users best have actually improved marketing abilities. We've learnt that you can adapt to new technology and actually harness the way that consumers are actually engaging with content, and also actually target those audiences more effectively. But ironically, those lessons that we've learnt from social media are actually much more powerful when applied to TV. Because TV is not only the home of incredible stories, it's the foundation for any marketing plan, and it's also the original and the most powerful influencer platform. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tess, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
For reviving the television. Well, maybe I missed it, but what's your favorite TV show of all times?
Oh, of all time? Oh, I think The West Wing. Or Mad Men. I think Mad Men is probably better for this room. Yeah.
Okay. That's a good thing. That's good. No Game of Thrones?
Well, yes. I mean, I love Game of Thrones so much that I'm dying to see the next episode. I missed it because I was traveling here.
You missed it?
Yeah.
So don't spoil her, please. No spoilers. No spoilers. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
At OMR.